Okay, I think I've got the timing on this down now. So I gotta wait for the little live thing to show up on my phone. Hi, everybody. Um, I'm Dr. Garrett Smith of nutritionrestored.com and Naturopathic Medicine of Southern Arizona. We're gonna be doing kind of a myth-busting analogy loving. I love analogies. And stuff, just other things about gut health and why you don't have to fix your gut to fix the rest of the things in your body. We fix the body and the gut all at the same time, and we don't have to treat the gut directly because if we're doing the right things otherwise, it should fix the gut. Okay, so let me go into basics I always go over at the start of everything. I am a doctor. Unless you're working with me, I'm not your doctor. So if you decide to do anything that I'm talking about on this, I didn't tell you to do it. You're an adult. You're listening to information. You're living your life. You're choosing to do it. So do what you may. If you want me to help guide you or to help you with all of my experience on your journey, that's what I do. So then, who am I? I'm Dr. Garrett Smith. You can reach me at nutritionrestored.com. You can contact Julie, admin at nutritionrestored.com. You can go to our website and contact her there. You can call us at 520-577-6888. I'll be going over all the contact info at the end, too. And then let me just make sure. What else? Nope, that's about... Oh, if you want more of my info, the stuff I've written down, obviously I have other Facebook Live videos here. We started to put them on YouTube, too. And then in the Facebook notes section, that's kind of like my blog. So if you want to go look there and read more of the stuff I've done... you can see testimonials, other stuff. Then, let me make sure. Yeah, so we're basically going into my gut health analogy, which is not short. I had a candida phase. You know, everybody's got candida. And if we just fix candida, human health will all be fixed. Okay, first of all, whenever you get into, if you just fix this one thing, everybody's going to be fixed. I know some people may try to pin that approach on me, but if you try to pin an approach of I think everything has one cause, you have not listened to my stuff. You don't understand what I do. But anyway, there's people out there. I went through a phase of toxic metals, and I went through a candida phase, and I went through an adrenal fatigue phase, and I went through, most doctors go through these phases. You can usually tell a doctor's phase when you go in, and they're like, oh, you have candida, and this is what's causing it. And there's a doctor I know locally who will try to pin Epstein-Barr on everything and everybody. She will go searching and hunting for Epstein-Barr until she finds it, and as soon as she finds it, she's going to put you on her Epstein-Barr program. That's not... Human health is very multifaceted, and I mean, if somebody was just, let's say they had amazing health and they were just smoking, well, a smoker is not going to create a candida problem that's the cause of their health problems. It's the smoking, right? I mean, it's just like, you can't think that fixing one thing fixes everybody. In my work, it could be high calcium, it could be low potassium, it could be copper exposure, it could be iron overload, it could be iron deficiency, it could be molybdenum toxicity, it could be cobalt toxicity. I'm seeing a lot of gut problems with high cobalt on hair tests. Where does it come from? I don't always know, but most of the time the exposure is over, and as we do my treatment, the cobalt comes down. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what on the program makes it go away. I see people with cobalt on a hair test. I often see gut problems. We fix the cobalt, gut problems go away. Do I need to know any more? Am I in the game to know everything, or am I in the game to help people? I'm in the game to help people. So, I don't care. I'd like to figure out where it's coming from so people can avoid it, or maybe we could figure out how to make it less toxic, or, you know, so we can fix the cause. But if I can't fix the cause, then I'm just after the solution. So, on to the garden analogy. The gut biome. Ooh, big fancy words, right? Instead of just the bacterial environment, the pathogen environment of your gut. So gut biome, think of bacteria in your gut. Bacteria, viruses, yeast, fungi. You want it, everybody's got bacteria, everybody's got yeast, everybody's got candida. Everybody's got viruses down there. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to have the right stuff grow and the wrong stuff not grow. Like in a garden. You want so weeds are plants, right? Weeds are plants too. We want plants to grow in the garden. We want the right plants to grow in the garden that give us what we want. We don't want the weeds to grow. Weeds are just plants that we don't like. Doesn't mean weeds don't have every right to exist. It means we don't want them in that area. So think of your gut as the same way. So this is where the garden analogy really starts to go deeper. Actually, I grabbed my cup. I was going to have a drink, and then I didn't. Okay, so first, maybe you've had gut problems. Maybe you go to a practitioner, or you read on the interwebs, and you're like, I have leaky gut. I have SIBO. I have Candida. I have dysbiosis. I have whatever the new, like every month they come up with a new problem for the gut and they give it a new name. You got the wrong stuff growing in your garden. Very simple. You want more of the good stuff, less of the bad stuff. Here's the way I look at good bacteria in your gut and why the right stuff down there is so important for you. Exercise, right? We're going to do an analogy to exercise. Exercise is something we have to do. I'm moving our body. Let's just say movement. We have to move our body to be healthy. Okay. You have to have stuff in your gut to be healthy. A totally sterile gut would not be good. So you got to have movement. You got to have stuff in your gut. Too much of the wrong stuff could hurt you or even kill you. Not enough, and you're just going to be a weak bag of loose muscles that's just going to fall apart a lot sooner. So we want the Goldilocks effect. Always remember the Goldilocks effect. We want the right amount of exercise. We want the right biome in our gut. Does anybody have the magic recipe to do that? As you've probably seen with working with other practitioners or reading about this guy has the new magic probiotic and this guy has the new magic prebiotic, and if you put them all together, you'll get the magic formula to health. No. Doesn't work that way, and I'm sure some of you have experienced that. So, look at the bacterial environment, the biome, whatever, as exercise for your immune system. It is stimulating your immune system in a certain way to respond to it, and that helps make your immune system stronger if it's the right stuff. If it's the wrong stuff, then you could, if it's too much of the wrong stuff, especially like too much of the wrong type of exercise, you could hurt yourself. You could make yourself worse. You could have health problems. Not enough of the right stuff, you can get health problems. So, we want the right stuff to give our immune system exercise, is the way I look at it. So, too many weeds. So, garden analogy. First, we go into we're going to go into the common, well, let me back up. We're going to go into gastroenterologists for a second. Gastroenterologists, I always believe that most healthcare practitioners and most doctors and people out there, the reason they got into the field is because they want to do good for people. The problem is their tools and their philosophy and their approaches are often wrong, sadly. Gastroenterologists are some of the ones that I don't understand the most, is because they actually drive people to alternative medicine, holistic health, whatever you want to call it. Because a client comes in and they say, Doc, I got irritable bowel. I'm diarrhea and constipation or one or the other, and I can't figure it out, or I got ulcerative colitis or whatever. What am I going to do? And then the patient will say, and I know that when I eat this, I get symptoms. And then the nurse or the gastroenterologist will say, nope. Food has nothing to do with how your gut feels. Are you freaking kidding me? Is what the patient sitting there, is what I say. They're like, but I know when I have dairy, I get like diarrhea, or when I have bread, I get heartburn. And they'll just say, nope, has no connection. How could anyone think if you put the wrong gas in your car's not going to run right? If you put a food in your gut that your gut doesn't like, you're not going to react to it well. It boggles my mind that like logic has been lost out there. So anyway, gastroenterologists, I don't know how they can continue to play that game and how they can live with themselves of actually sitting there going, what you eat has nothing to do with how your gut responds. So, off of that now, what is the common, we're going to go into the alternative approaches to gut health now, they're going to hurt the clients less, but they're not going to help them that much, and then you kind of make people weaker over time. So let's talk about for a second, what are the two different approaches? There's two kind of different approaches in politics these days, in mental health, in health. One approach is to avoid anything that bothers you. Avoid these foods. Avoid this. Avoid that. Avoid this. Prevent things from breaking you down. And that's the main gist of it. Am I saying that that's a bad thing? No, but that's the main gist of it. It's like avoid things that hurt you. Like the snowflake idea. Anyway. Then there's the people who say the key to becoming better or healthier is to make yourself more resilient, to build up your strength against these insults so that your system can withstand insults and other things coming in that bother it more. So this is like the big approach. This is where I am. I'm on the, we want to make the system more resilient. And if we need to avoid some things along the way, yes, but the goal is to get those things back into the diet. If you think this works with other approaches, tell me how many times you've gone on a super restricted diet and gotten to introduce more foods along the way. Most of the time, what you see is you see more and more foods become sensitive and more foods have to be cut out. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I do with my approach, what I've seen and what people tell me in the testimonials and other stuff is they say, I can eat this now. I can eat this now. I went to a party and I ate something and I wasn't supposed to and I felt fine. That is building more resilience, not just taking things out. This is very important, very. So, now we go into the real meat of the garden analogy. The first approach in the alternative world is, so your garden, you've got a garden. It's got too many weeds, the wrong stuff growing. The first approach that everybody does is we are going to starve the garden. We're going to take away the things that the weeds need to live. So you're going to go on a candida diet, and you're going to take out sugar, and you're going to take out vinegar, and you're going to take out mushrooms, and you're going to take out melons, and you're going to take out anything that might have any relation to yeast whatsoever, because you don't want to stimulate the yeast. Okay. So then the people have nothing to eat. Now, if you starve the weeds, let's say in the garden you decide I'm not going to water the garden because the weeds are taking the water too. Well, so if you stop watering the good plants and the bad plants, then you get nothing there, and then you get everything dying, and you make your system weaker, because most of the time when you go on an overly restricted diet, you're not only restricted on calories because you just get tired of eating the same old crap over and over, and you're deficient in nutrients. There are several studies on PubMed where people go on rotation diets or restrictive diets for their allergies, and they get more allergies. They get worse. That's not an okay outcome. If they just kept eating what they were eating, they would have not had more allergies. But they restrict everything, and then they see their allergy system gets more revved up, and they're reacting to more things. So starving the garden doesn't work. I'm talking about, if you find that there's a diet that works for you, a restrictive diet that you're like, I feel better on when I don't eat these. First of all, for wherever somebody's health is, I would say, good. Do that for now. Do that for now. It would be like, you break your leg, they put you in a cast, and you got a cast on your ankle, and they're like, don't run for now. But you'll be able to run soon enough as your leg heals. Okay. The Candida people and what is that? GAPS and FODMAPs and all these things. Some of them may work for people, and I'm not against. I'm always for what works, but they're going to stick you in that forever. Like the thing I hear about GAPS is people are like, but I never got to the point where I moved up to level 2 or whatever. I've had a patient almost die on GAPS. They were starving to death. Doesn't work. No, I don't see very many people who are like, oh, I'm getting more strong and more resilient and I'm getting to eat more foods. And no, it just doesn't tend to happen. So don't starve the garden. But if there's foods that are aggravating your gut, then avoid them for now. But you have to know that the goal, a positive progress would be more foods coming into your diet. Negative progress would be you're having to restrict more and more and more. So you're either going in a good direction or a bad direction, okay? Starving the garden never works because then the right plants don't grow. Next, poisoning the garden. Okay, most people know about Monsanto and Roundup and poisons. So in the gut, SIBO, whatever, let's dump lots of antibiotics and antifungals and all these things down there in the hopes we're going to poison the bad weeds and we're going to leave the good weeds alone. Okay. You don't get to selectively kill like that. It tends to just go in and, kill most things. You could poison yourself with Roundup. Sure, the weeds died. Now you're poisoning yourself too. Most things that are poisons generally across the board. Or you can do the natural route. You can do the oil of oregano, and you can do all the other anti-parasitic herbs, all the antifungal herbs, all the antibacterial herbs. You can do them. So you're hoping that you're going to kill the bad guys and leave the good guys. Okay. What happens when you take away the poison? Do the bad guys stay away? Are they gone forever? Or were they just kind of laying low for a while and then they all sprout up again? What do they say lives after a nuclear explosion? Right? Cockroaches. The stuff you don't want. So you go and you nuke your gut with natural stuff, pharmaceutical stuff, whatever. You have a bunch of death and destruction down there. And what's left? The thing that's going to come back first is probably going to be the most resilient stuff, which may just be a bad guy. Okay. And now you're starved. Your gut is starved. And now it's poisoned. Your soil is poisoned. The soil will be important. We'll get to that. Next, finally, then there's the probiotics crowd. Okay, am I against probiotics? Am I against cultured foods? No. Do I think you should hang your hat on $100 a month or $120 or whatever a month probiotics, like they're just going to go in and just bulldoze everything bad out of there? No, it doesn't work. Maybe you've tried it and it didn't work. So, think about this. You've now starved the garden and you've poisoned the soil. And you are not feeding the soil what it needs. We'll get to that in a second. You are not giving the soil the nutrients that it needs. And then you want to go in and throw fistfuls of seeds on top of the soil every day. I'm just going to throw them in. Not just something. I hope something sticks. I hope something starts growing in this dead, dry, non-nutrient, poisoned soil. Does it work? Once in a while you might get the right strain of seed that goes in there, the probiotic goes in and it sprouts, and then all the problems are gone. Maybe. Probably didn't happen to you. So you throw them on there every day. Now, in a real garden, a garden that's healthy, do you have to throw seeds on it every day? No. You get the soil right, you're watering it, you're doing the right things, and you go and you put some seeds in a row, and then they grow on their own. And they do what they're supposed to do. You don't have to put seeds on the... If you were putting seeds on the garden every day hoping that they're going to sprout, your soil is dead. One guy told me once. He said the way to know if the soil is a problem in your garden is you just look and see if anything's growing, even weeds. If weeds aren't growing, it's dead. It's just toast. So you got to fix the soil. Now we get into nutrients in the soil. Your gut, your tissue, the tubes that all these bacteria, viruses, yeast, fungus are growing in. Your intestines. What are they made of? You are what you eat, right? So, if you have too much calcium, too much iron, too much copper, especially iron. I have the study that showed that more bad bacteria and less good bacteria grow in iron overloaded gut tissue. Iron will screw up your soil. So you got too much of the bad minerals, or too much of the minerals that can be bad, I should say. Because do we need calcium? Do we need iron? Do we need copper? Yes. Too much of them is a problem. And then you might not have enough of the good minerals, magnesium, potassium, sodium even. You don't have enough, vitamin C. You don't have enough of these things. So, the right things don't grow and the wrong things do. Bad things love iron. Good things don't. So, if you know anything about gardening, soil amendments are amendments. You're amending the soil. You are fixing the soil. You are putting stuff in the soil. If you know anything about soil amendments, most soil amendments are minerals. Crazy that I deal with minerals, right? I have a study, leaky gut study. It was called intestinal permeability back in 1964. The title of the study is Calcium and Magnesium as Regulators of Intestinal Permeability. More calcium made the gut cells, because it was a petri dish study, but anyway, it made the gut cells more leaky, and more magnesium made them less leaky. Magnesium deficiency in leaky gut. I bet you haven't heard that thrown around the internet too much. It's there. 50 years ago they knew this. So we got soil amendments, minerals, nutrition. We have to fix the soil. We have to not starve it, not poison it. When we do probiotics, we want there to be something for them to grow out of. We amend the soil. And then I was going to go into something else that I'm losing out of my brain right now. But anyway, you can see I'm pretty passionate about this analogy. And then, what I have people do with cultured or fermented foods, is, or probiotics, we rotate them because just like agriculture, monocultures, one crop that you grow over and over and over again, eventually gets problems and it gets so weak that it dies. You don't want monocultures in your gut. You want diversity of bacteria, species, yeast. They sell what is that? Floristore. That's a yeast. You want a diversity of things. You want lots of different things. So I'll have people, if you're going to do kefir or yogurt or whatever, you're trying to get different. If you're going to buy at the store, buy different brands because they'll use different strains. If you're going to get different probiotics, I have people rotate them, like get 3 or 4 of them and rotate daily. Take a different one each day. You're trying to grow a forest here, so you want the right things to grow and have the right ecosystem. You don't want to just be like, well, this probiotic says they're the best, and if I just take it every day, that's what the company wants you to do. The company sells their probiotics. That's not necessarily the best thing. So and if you're going to have cultured or fermented foods, you have them as a side dish or a condiment. You are not eating bowls of sauerkraut. It's too much lactic acid. There's research possibly showing lactic acid is stimulatory to cancer. And when you think of exercise, what stops you from exercising, uses up, what you're supposed to be using to exercise? It's lactic acid. We can recycle it. But anyway, too much lactic acid, not a great thing. So, cultured foods, like a spoonful of sauerkraut will practically have like a whole bottle's worth of probiotics in it. So you don't need to have like some population explosion. You just need to put some seeds down there. seeds to start the garden. Oh, that's what I was going to into, the immune system. So we're talking about a garden. Even the best garden is going to grow some weeds. You weed the garden. You take out the things you don't want growing there. What takes out the things that aren't supposed to be growing there? The immune system. Iron overload or iron dysregulation weakens the immune system. If you have too much iron, pathogens love that. The wrong guys love that. If you don't have enough iron, which is classic iron dysregulation, too much where we don't want it, not enough where we do. If you don't have enough iron, then you don't get the oxygen to where it should be. Oxygen is what we use to kill things. Oxidation is part of how we kill things. We just don't want too much oxidation with our whole system rusting. Goldilocks effect. So don't ever pin me on too much of this and too little of that, because it's always in the middle. The next thing is your immune system needs gasoline to drive around. Vitamin C is the gasoline that your immune system cells use to drive around. That's the easiest analogy to do. So when you're sick, people say, well, when you're sick, I can take a whole bunch more vitamin C. If there were riots in your body and you take more vitamin C, your cops who are trying to control the riots, they need more vitamin C because they got to drive all around, right? When you're sick, you can use more vitamin C. When you're not sick, you don't need as much because things are under control better. But vitamin C is critical to everything driving around. Does vitamin C show up on a hair test? No. You just need it. You're going to get enough from food? No. Is food the best? Yes. But will it get you what you need these days? No. So, I think that's all on the analogy. Oh, mucoid plaque. Oh my gosh. Mucoid plaque. Oh my goodness. If you're not familiar with what mucoid plaque is the mythological, I remember, what was it, Beverly Hills Cop 2, I think, where one of the cops was saying to the other one, he said, do you know that by the time you're 40, you have 25 pounds of undigested meat sitting in your colon? And everybody ran with that. Like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's true. Oh. You do not have a layer of old, hardened, thick poop plaque lining your guts. If you did, you'd be dead. We're going to talk about why. I love busting myths in the alternative world because, pardon my French, but it's a bunch of BS, no pun intended. Mucoid plaque. So yeah, the idea is that if you aren't familiar with it, that your intestines have a layer of hardened crap stuck to them. And this is why you don't have good nutrition, and this is why you have all these health problems, and that's what's going on. So here's how we're going to bust the myth. We're going to do it from a couple different angles. First, if you have never seen an endoscopy video, the camera up the butt, for lack of a better term, when they go in there, they see pink intestines on just about everybody. There might be a little poop caught up here and there in the folds if they didn't get it out, but they're seeing pink, shiny intestines. Go look. And all they give these people, they give them some laxatives beforehand. They might use PEG. They used to use magnesium citrate. So if magnesium citrate as a laxative can get rid of all this mucoid plaque that's supposedly there, and then you can see the walls, was it ever there in the first place, or are they just making sure you've pooped out all your poop so that it's not getting poop on the lens of the camera, okay? So they can see the walls. So if laxatives can get rid of this mucoid plaque in one day, the other thing is, so when people are doing these laxatives, have you ever done one? Did you poop out 20 pounds of poop? No. You pooped out all the liquids they were telling you to drink. So you didn't get dehydrated because they're giving you some strong laxatives. So, anyway, you would know if you pooped out 20 pounds of poop. And it wasn't just the water or the liquids they were giving you. Okay, so that's one. Then we get to go into the autopsy results. I remember on a board I was on once, an internet forum, there was a guy who was a police officer, and somehow this mucoid plaque thing came up, and I always remember this because he said, He went to like 3 autopsies because he wanted to see the mucoid plaque in the gut. You know, the person's dead. They're going to be cutting him open anyway. He wanted to see it. He's got the stomach for it, so sure, go. He said there was no such thing in the gut. He was there. He wanted to see it. He wanted it proven. He said what he could see was that in the bowels there was, they call them, boluses, but basically there was the food that somebody had eaten. If they had a sandwich and chips, like you could pretty much see as it goes down. Of course, it's going to decompose and be digested more, but at the start you could kind of recognize what their last couple meals were as they were traversing down the gut. And it was definitely like, like when you poop, that's a meal. Usually the way it's supposed to be is you're supposed to poop once for every meal. Maybe not for a little snack, but you're supposed to poop once for every meal. And so if you imagine in your gut, there's a piece of poop, food poop I call it, because it's food at one point, and at another point it's poop. I call it food poop. Anyway, it's moving through, and it's moving through as a mass. So you could see these different groups of food poop in there, and that's what he's saying he could see. And if it wasn't too far down in the gut, you could kind of figure out what they had eaten, which is kind of gross. But anyway, he said there was no mucoid plaque lining the intestines, and this is somebody who didn't do laxatives for an endoscopy, okay? Next, nutrient absorption. The dead ringer. First, if you eat food, it's just, it doesn't do, like, it's just food. It just doesn't do anything. It doesn't move. It doesn't wiggle. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't penetrate things. It's just food. If you had even a millimeter layer of hardened plaque, or if you want to just call it crap, stuck to the inside of all of your intestines, right? Because it's a circle. It would have to be all the way around, a lining on the inside. You would not absorb any nutrients, carbs, protein, fats, minerals, vitamins. Nothing would get through. You would die. Are masses of people out there dying from this problem of mucoid plaque? No. So, we have camera evidence, we have autopsy evidence, we have just the fact that people aren't dying, falling over dead from lack of nutrients all the time. So, we have the evidence. Don't believe the hype. Okay, now let's go into one other thing that I did. This was after I got out of school. I was doing a cleanse. This was before I knew better. I was doing a cleanse that had, I forget what they call them. It was something like toxin absorber packets. It was from a company that might rhyme with Mest Burbs or Messid Burbs. Anyway, they have these packets. It's got apple pectin and bentonite clay and all these other things that are supposed to go into your gut and magically suck up the toxins and help get rid of the mucoid plaque. And then you poop it out. And all these people would post on their website. I think they took down all these pictures because somebody called them on it, probably in the government. And they were pooping out all these long, gooey, clay-like looking things. And they for their pictures, they would get a chopstick or whatever and pick it up and take a picture of it. They were so proud of, look at what I did, mommy. Okay, now, one day I was making my toxin absorber drink. It's basically water in this powder. And in my office, I had a hot water dispenser and I had a cold water dispenser. And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the exact order, but I think I put in some hot water and I was like, oops, wait, that was not supposed to happen. So I kind of mixed it up. And then I did the cold water, shot the cold water into it, and boom, it congealed. And all of a sudden, I could see this, almost looked snake-like looking thing from where the cold water had gone in there. It formed the thing that these people were pulling out of the toilet. It's what they drank. It was a lie. Now, snake oil happens in all types of medicine. Don't ever think that alternative medicine has the handle on snake oil. I mean, cancer treatments in the medical world are just, talk about snake oil. They don't have any, the evidence is garbage on them. And they keep doing them. People are paying way more for cancer treatments than they ever are for a supplement at the store or a vitamin C IV, which is vitamin C IVs. I'm just not into doing IVs. So, yeah, that mucoid plaque thing. And they were trying to say that they were pooping out this lining of their gut. And I was... That day was the day I stopped that cleanse. Because I said, this is a bunch of crap. And I figured out that one of the things. So hopefully the myth of mucoid plaque has now been busted. Hopefully the garden analogy will help you understand what we're trying to do. Now, if you just go out and you start eating everything you want when you're not ready for it, it'd be like you don't go out and run a marathon when you haven't trained. You don't go out and just be like, well, I know that gluten doesn't get along with my gut, but Dr. Smith said we're going to do whatever you think I said, and you start shoving gluten down your face. No. What we do with my program, we build resilience through proper nutrition. We test, we don't guess. Give the body what it needs. Help the body to get what it needs so it can get rid of what it doesn't want. And then all of a sudden, when the body stops when the body's immune system is working better, more of the toxic stuff is out, then it's able to not freak out. Think of allergies, like food allergies, food sensitivities, hypersensitivities. The immune system is freaking out. When do people freak out? When they're tired, when they're stressed. They overreact to things that they normally wouldn't react to. We want to calm the system down by giving it what it needs. If that was a person, it might be yoga. It might be time away from the internet. It might be less exercise. It might be, if they're over-exercising, it might be more exercise. If they're not doing anything, it might be all sorts of, we have to look at the person and give them what they need. I don't have a single approach. Anyone who ever thinks I have a single approach has not been a client of mine. So, I think that's about it. I'm going to click on my Facebook over here, see if anybody had anything interesting. I don't think I'm going to do any questions today. So, I think I'm about done. But yeah, if you're a client of mine and you caught something interesting in this that you want to bring up in an email to me, go ahead. Please don't send me articles of other people's stuff about, like, they said that all the answers to the gut are this. Because if you have SIBO, if you have colitis, if you have IBS, if you have these other gut problems, named gut problems, that is not the cause of your issue. That is a symptom of your issue. Think about this. If you could eat certain foods when you were 10 years old, and now you're 30 and you can't eat them, does that mean that the food changed? Probably not. Does it mean that you changed and you are not as resilient as you used to be? Probably that. How do we build resilience? Through nutrition is the biggest. You are what you eat. And you can include supplements in that too. And you are what you eat in terms of bad things too. So if you're taking in too much vitamin D and it's filling you full of calcium and iron, because that's another thing, vitamin D increases your iron stores. It increases your calcium stores. That's what it does. Raises calcium on a hair test. I don't know if I posted that calcium study, but on hair tests they showed that with higher calcium there on a hair test there was lower bone density. What does vitamin D do on a hair test? It raises calcium. You could put the 2 and 2 together. Higher calcium, lower bone density. Vitamin D raises calcium. Oh my God, maybe vitamin D is actually worsening osteoporosis, and that's why modern medicine and all these people obsessing about vitamin D have never gotten anywhere with it. And then vitamin D needs vitamin C to function. You can check my notes for the last couple days on that one. You don't get to have good vitamin D if you don't fix your vitamin C. So, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I am Dr. Garrett Smith of nutritionrestored.com, naturopathic medicine of Southern Arizona. And if you want to work with me, you can contact my office through Julie at admin@nutritionrestored.com. Be nice to Julie or you don't get to stay. Then we have the phone, 520-577-6888. And then the website, nutritionrestored.com. And then here on Facebook is kind of where I live until I figure out how to get a blog where I do it properly every day. But until then, my blog is on the Facebook notes. So I will see you all next time. Hopefully, I may even do one of these on Friday and go through my detox stuff where we blast the myths of detox and all the other stuff about that. So, see you all later. Have a good day.